welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. Over here we've got the wonderful Rinae.
And over here we have the wonderful nKATeko.
Yes, that is I.
Yeah.
And you're probably wondering, who is this person like infiltrating our space right here in the middle center?
This male species.
Yeah, in the hot seat. None other than who? Danny Mokumo.
Yes.
So probably out there people don't even know who Danny Mokumo is. Danny.
Tell us.
Who is Danny? Daniel Mokumo.
Daniel.
His English name.
Yes, Danny Mokumo is a son of the soil.
The original.
The original. Certified.
Okay. Alright.
Within the 3 months validity period. Yes, I'm from Limpopo. Ko Rakivi from Ramalabo.
Wow.
Behind those mountains where we still get drainage from the Limpopo River. So that is where I'm from. Born and bred that side. And I've been in Limpopo. And I'm still here.
Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm sure everybody wants to know, what does Danny do in a typical day? You know, what interests you? What are you about? Because out here, we promise people that we're going to bring very interesting human beings. So we just want to find out, what do you do on a typical day?
So I'm a senior clinical manager at Mokopane Hospital.
Yeah.
And then on any typical day,
Yeah.
you know, what that entails is that I run the hospital's clinical and some of the administration. So I supersee all of the administration and patient care. And Mokopane being a regional hospital, I support about 7 district hospitals in the Waterberg district. So on any day, that entails my job, from handling any crisis, natural disasters, responding to that, the famous accidents on the N1.
Sure.
That is what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are your views around getting young people like yourselves to occupy such... I mean, this is a massive position. You understand what I'm saying? And it's a key thing. For me, I'm very in awe of the fact that you've been given the opportunity to really show your leadership skills, your management skills, your people management skills, particularly because you're dealing with like patients, doctors, and all of that. So how critical is it for you, you know, in your position? How do you feel about putting young people in leadership positions like this one?
I think that it's very important. As Africans, as a country, we need to now be deliberate about our intentions. You no longer need to preach this thing of youth empowerment and preparing youth to take over the future. How do you prepare them if you've never put them in positions of responsibility? And you can't wait for me to be 50 and then you're only trialing me out. That just can't happen. So we need to be very much straightforward and deliberate. We need to give young people opportunities to occupy senior executive positions. Actually, what government also needs to do, even the private sector, is look at this. Have duplicate boards that are just made up of youth. You have a shadow board that is made up of youth. Then we know in the next 10 years, ESCOM is sorted. We already have a board that has been in training for 10 years. There are young people, there are competent young professionals who have been certified in their professions and they are ready. They know the industry, they know the company. So you will never run out of leadership. But now, how many of our state-owned companies are collapsing? They're draining the economy of billions. Because why? We don't have good, credible leadership. Where do you think you're going to get it? You need to develop it. So in health, we've been very fortunate that we have courageous and bold leadership. And people who are willing to say, look, I'm going to give young people a try. And at that time, when we got into office, it was very unpopular. It was not common, you know, and it had a lot of contestation. But, you know, when you have a vision as a leader, you must stick by your guns. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is unpopular, as long as you know that you're doing it for the right reasons and you know that it's an investment for the future. You will reap and harvest from that investment long term.
Lines, eh?
And let's not lie, eh? Here in South Africa, or should I say Africa in general, ageism is a real thing. Let's talk about our political movements in all the countries, across all the countries, that are not closing gates only. Let's not even talk about women. Eh? We're just going to talk about youth now. Otherwise, we're going to go deep in this. What do you think we can do or remedy in our society in order to make it less ageism? So that the gatekeepers are not those ones. You know what I mean? Here we are with the president who's our old, and in Finland they've got leaders of political parties who are majority all under 35.
And that's because I think for me, one thing that we want you to be like aware of is also the fact that when you have leaders that are younger, I'm not trying to say all the leaders are not important. I think if you look at how things are changing, so if you look at like the global, your fourth industrial revolution, what we in South Africa typically refer to as fourth industrial revolution is actually still like second or third. You understand? We're not even there. Because if you look at like Asian countries and where they are, it's literally fourth industrial. But when you have younger leaders are very like aware. Because I can tell you right now, I'm so aware of many of the developments that are happening in different countries. So when you have older leaders, it's not that they won't understand. It's just not part of their generation. Do you understand?
Or should I say what I say? Better interactions between the generations. It's almost, I mean, great leaders. Let me say, old people like, God bless his soul, Hugh Masigede. Did you see how he used to interact with young people and give them opportunities in great spaces? How do we make sure, or how do we nudge people in the right direction to understand all the generations need to work together if we want a stability and a future, which you have described?
Well, I think it must be phased in. The first phase is very difficult because that's where everybody then declares interest. Now, the problem we have with this phase is that all people have the experience, we can't deny that. They have the money and they have the opportunities. And young people bring with them what you compensate with for experience is a drive to innovate and be creative. And how you then bridge that, the lack of experience, is through mentorship. That's why when you have a shadow board, automatically they start gaining board experience. When the trustees, you develop them. So once you've then declared interest, you go into the second phase, which is very difficult, is that then all people need to know. I don't like using the term dying, but you need to know when it's time to go. You know, there's no magical sign. But you just need to know and be mature enough to step aside without being pushed. Because when you stay there for too long, people below you start getting frustrated, and you never have peaceful exit out of office. I mean, let's look at our country. You know, I'm an ANC Youth League in good standing.
Good standing membership.
Carrying member.
I'm up to date. But, you know, it concerns me because we've only had one peaceful exit out of the presidency, and that was Mandela. Kabambeki did not finish his term. Jacob Zuma did not finish his term. And we know that CR17, although he's been doing good, the economy is tough and this, they've been impending threats that people don't want him to finish his term. So what I'm saying is that it shows you that there is combustion underneath. From underneath the Youth League, which was collapsed, there's combustion. There's a lot of young people that are dying to get out and be given opportunities to lead. And if these leaders are not careful, we might actually not have a president that gets out of office peacefully. And the president is there. I'm just using him as one example. What about all the others? There's always bloodshed around contestation for political power. Everybody wants to move.
Remember,
I like this analogy. Use your combustion.
Burning.
But you know that usual thing.
Did you remember how lit Nazareth was, guys?
Yes.
I had those. I was following. I was on the TikTok, and how they were saying like there were meetings that were finishing at like midnight or sometimes going to the AMs because there was so much campaigning. And did you see those announcements, guys? Those announcements. I was just sitting there. I was like, wow.
Exactly.
And this is within one political party.
And
that scares me. That scares me.
And where was the youth when that all is happening? They've been numbed down. And it's not only the ANC. You look at the EFF. Look at what's happening with the EFF. You know, the problem is when young people are not given opportunities, they will break out. And when they break out, you get anarchy because their exit is not controlled. So you can't then come and direct them. That's why you start having breakout parties like the EFF. But even them now, they are maturing but they're struggling to contain their younger people because the age limit to now be introduced into leadership has gone down, drastically down. You no longer need to wait before you are after you're 35. I think that's actually nonsensical.
But also for me, I like that quote of no revolution has ever been led without young people at the forefront.
Exactly.
And for me, what scares me, what troubles me, what angers me is when you look in the context of Africa, I don't understand. Movements are being led and you don't see young people. I mean, if you look at the parliament of like many different countries in our state, like Africa, young people, you would just count one or two. I mean, right now I've seen that we have a lot of MPs that are young people. And also there's a debate around that because remember fees must fall. We are seeing MPs that made it and there's issues around it.
And the question is, are they just puppets or are they really working for the greater good of the people?
Yes. And you see, the problem is if you don't do that second phase correctly, then you get that because they look like they are co-opted rogue units. So everybody who made enough noise was then co-opted.
Yes.
So and it doesn't need to be like that. When there's genuine this genuine introduction and genuine inclusiveness of young people, we don't doubt the leaders that are masquerading around young people. So when you now think of it and you say, let's take the top 6 leadership of the EFF, all of them, we wipe them out. Even EFF members who are card carrying, very active, can't tell you who the next top 6 is. The same with the ANC.
Sure.
Because right now, if somebody takes out my top 6, I can't tell you.
What are the plans?
This is who. And I can definitely even tell you that we might even struggle to find women and young, our young people.
You know what someone asked me yesterday?
Yes.
I declared, Rinae agrees and endorses me, that South Africa is ready for a female president within this next decade.
We've
been ready.
It's required. We've been ready for a long time.
Yes.
I don't know who was claiming we're not ready. We are ready.
Very ready.
Now the time is here. But I got asked a simple question. So who, let's say hypothetically, because now it's the ruling party. Who in the ruling party is the woman who will be leading us? Or the women who will be leading us?
But my thing is,
or even the other party.
But even with such questions, for me, okay, there are some leaders within like our governing party right now that like women that are not at the forefront, but that does not mean that we don't have the women. So if you look at ANC as a political party, you have capable women that are there. They just don't get the forefront seats. You understand what I'm saying? Same thing with EFF. You have capable women, very dynamic women, strong women that are so capable to lead. But my thing is, it's the same thing in corporate. It's the same thing in government institutions, like you're saying in SOEs. Women are there. It's just that it's that one thing of give me the opportunity. Because I can tell you right now, if you put me as a minister tomorrow, I literally know the people that I'm going to put. Because I have friends whom I know, like I can wake up and be like, nKATeko can lead PID section. You understand what I'm saying?
You even know you can make me Minister of Arts and Culture in South Africa.
You understand what I'm saying?
And the revolution which will happen in the sports, arts and culture space, hint, hint, people are in positions. You'll see great things.
Yeah, but that's my thing. The thing is, for me, you can't also, I really struggle this concept of people feeling like people are not ready. You will never be ready until people give you. Like for instance, with Danny's situation, Danny being given this opportunity, it's for him to learn, it's for him to understand and know and share his knowledge. And whatever he doesn't know, there's going to be someone to assist him. You understand what I'm saying? And it's exactly my debate and my conversation around young leadership. Because right now, I can't sleep peacefully thinking about the inequality of this country, the unemployment of this country, and the social ills that affect so many of the dynamics. At the core of it, not having land, buffet. That one.
Don't even.
Jenny Samina, I want to find out from you.
Don't cry, guys.
Of the social ills.
No, when you talk
which
about
one
land,
bends you the most?
Which one keeps you up at night?
Which one is eating you?
You know what? Now, funny enough, I have this guy, advocate Notomichi, and he wrote a book.
Yes.
Landlessness is a constitutional sin.
Yeah.
I think on the issue of land, we all need to agree. Let's stop the argument. We all need to agree. My party has been in power, but we failed to deliver on that mandate.
Yeah.
We've done great things. ANC has done amazing things.
I agree.
People need to
give credit where it's due.
You must give credit where it's due. You can have, that flavor called sweet and sour.
Yeah.
You need to be able to see the world like that.
Yeah.
Where it's sweet, you see it for sweet. Where it's sour, you see it for sour. Don't paint everything with one brush. You know? I mean, the progress we've made with healthcare, the progress we've made with education. If you want to go and see, look at any other African country or even other developing countries and try and match. We could have done more, but let's not really go down and dismiss the genuine progress. The issue of having social grants has an impact. People were thinking, no, the ANC is using this to stay in power. No, it's nonsense. At a time whereby there are households who use that as their only genuine income, and they've survived. How many of your university students now who are currently in university, whom without government subsidies and bursaries would have never made it? You know, and not even that.
Without NSFAS, putting it out there.
Not even that. And it's a government that is developmental in thinking, because you must redistribute. People thought that we could maintain. I mean, during the presidency of Thabo Mbeki, we did great on economic growth, but there must be a point where you distribute, and distributing is always painful because Rinae, right now we are the most unequal country in the world. We don't lack resources. There's an ill distribution of resources. We have too many rich people who are only continuing to get rich because we have this concept of an open market economy where you say everybody is free to compete. No, that's total nonsense. How do you say everybody is open to compete when majority of the people don't have the tools, don't have the resources, are disenfranchised? So it's not an open competition. We opened up the market for people with money to capture it. That was the first fundamental mistake. That's why we became the most unequal country in the world. Now, to continue saying that now the market is getting concentrated because they've taken everything. You know, majority of the buildings in the cities are in private hands. Majority of the land is in private hands. Majority of the dams are in private land.
Yeah, that one, the water one.
So they've concentrated. So you get to a country and you get to a point where you buy everything out. What's the next phase? You privatize. Why? Because you've bought everything else, then let's buy the government resources as well. That's why I actually believe that it's no coincidence that state-owned companies are collapsing. They are being collapsed to devalue them, to open up space for the private sector to now come in, because they've chowed everything.
That's another topic that really scares me. I mean, we are on stage 6 of load shedding, guys.
What even is that?
Yes, guys.
There was a question that was asked: when did you realize you started hating ESCOM? At which stage?
Guys, I think for me, when I look at South Africa, right, and I think that's, I'm a very Pan-Africanist at heart. I'm very passionate about Africa, South Africa, and I think for the longest time, South Africa has been a country with possibilities. You understand what I'm saying? But now I'm at a point where I'm thinking it's a country where you get possibilities and opportunities when you are better off. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because right now, when you speak about inequality, if you assess it from an economic point, is the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. So if you look at all the socioeconomic issues, your unemployment, your poverty, your crime, because the crime for me is the biggest indicator. But if you go to education, so if you dissect education very well, your children are going to end up in very good schools. My child, if I'm in the township and I didn't get any education, well, I'm going to just have to take my child to whatever school is available. But those discrepancies for me of the inequality and the fact that when we address issues, we touch on the surface, not the root cause. That's what really worries me about the governing party right now.
But even in that situation, when you're talking about, it's not only about the money that's of advantage. Put that way. Sorry, it's after 5, so the English is running away.
His look is fairly long, guy.
But what I want to know
is data bundles. You've exhausted your data bundles for the. I'm gonna give you some name.
Thank you. But about what you're saying about education, I mean, what makes some children better, even in a poor education system, is the amount of effort that their parents put in that education.
Definitely.
Look, I don't care much about education. My child is in school. I don't even care if he can read. I don't even care because of the shackles of society. When I get grant money, all I do is play dice and I go drink. When on the other side, you may be in the same position, but you value education. And what you do with that grant, you're actually thinking about malnutrition and more things like that. Hey, so and it's also of the mind, hey? The mindset and what you've done with this inequality and the poverty is not only with the money, but also with the mindset, which is even more difficult to deal with.
Definitely.
So you bring us to the concept of decolonization.
Yeah.
I know that term that people want to throw when they want to.
I don't want to throw it there, but yes.
But look, I think that in simple terms, children do better when their parents value education. People value education when they see that there's a tangible change in their reality because of education.
Sure.
So now, when we start seeing unemployed graduates, people running around with PhDs and they're unemployed, we don't value that education anymore. And you see unemployed graduates, and then you see the uneducated, unemployed, rich entrepreneurs who are the ones now being masqueraded as new leaders because they have money. And we've now attached monetary value with leadership. You know, and that is where we get it wrong. So we're no longer, we're devaluing education because it's not making any significant difference to our society, and our society has been constructed in that manner. So what we then need to do as a nation, I think there are some things, when you take away people's comforts and privileges, they get consent. Then they do something and they act. Now, I would tell you that the biggest revolutionary change we could put onto the educational sector is to say, look, both private, public, we all need to come together and agree on one curriculum. Let's agree on a curriculum, and it's going to be taught. Because now, middle class and rich people have access to private schools, which have a better curriculum set. So where does that leave everybody else?
And the resources.
And they're no longer concerned. And the concept that public schools can do well, that is nonsense. I mean, we have public schools like Mbilu, Dendron High School, which have been doing amazing, competing head to head with some of the top private schools in the country. So it's not even a resource issue. You just need to construct an environment where learning can occur, not just the exercise where we go and we teach and we hold children like we're hypnotizing them and
kill the innovation.
It's just
and the drive and passion.
You know, I gave you 30 minutes of this. No. Let's have genuine interest, and then let's reform our educational system so that it can address the current challenges of today. We don't have water. We don't have water. What is our education system doing about it? Universities are also culprits to this. You know, I think if there's one thing that the ruling party did, and it was a mistake, was that when we took over the country, the judiciary remained untransformed, which then continued governing with the so-called new rules, but with their own interpretation. But the educational system, especially higher education, was left untransformed as well. So let me give you an example with a local school that I attended. At some point, I went to Dendron Primary School, and I remember that it had an Olympic-sized swimming pool. It was teaching technical skills. It was teaching a variety of sports. It used to be a former Model C school where white kids used to go. So when the black kids came, that swimming pool never saw water. And it wasn't an issue of management there, because we want to catch this thing that black people come take over the schools and whatnot. We had a white principal, we still had white management. But there was a systemic, deliberate collapse of educational quality and the educational offerings. Technical subjects were taught in that school. And I'm telling you about primary. So we take the technical subjects, we make them a high school thing. And then after that, we've now even stripped them and made them sort of a peri or a before university qualification. Things that were getting taught in primary school. What did you think was the impact of that? And now, let's analyze Polokwane. Again, I'm giving you as a direct result of those decisions that were made with the primary schools. Majority of the companies here that are providing technical competencies, I'm talking about plumbing. How many black-owned plumbing companies do you know that support corporate, that give corporate plumbing services to just come and block your drain? Why was it? Because when black kids came into those, and one can say that it is very clear that it was at the time rooted from a racial perspective to disenfranchise and disempower. So now we're only seeing it of note. Panyaza Lisufi doing a wonderful job, bringing back technical schools, technical skills to be taught in high school. But they need to go to primary. That's what needs to happen. Let children start learning about electricity in primary school. It can happen. That's what's happening in your other developed countries, your China, your Taiwan. That is exactly what is happening. So